I'm Sam from GRG, and these are the 10 best LEGO licensed video games of all time. Kicking off at number 10, and yes, this one might surprise you, LEGO The Incredibles. Underrated? Absolutely. But that's exactly why it belongs on this list. By the time it released, the genre had already given us character rosters larger than the number of unplayed games in your Steam library and more levels than Michael Scott's calling card business.
It's not a pyramid scheme. It's not even a scheme per se. I have to go make a call.
It was always going to be tough to stand out, but it managed to, taking every staple of the genre, the platforming, the combat, the open world exploration, and applying it to a franchise that honestly doesn't get nearly enough love. Not only does it cover both films, but it throws in characters from the wider Pixar universe. The usual goofs and gags LEGO is known for are all here.
What are you talking about? You are Elastigirl! Pull yourself together!
And the extended cast gives you a brilliant variety of styles to experiment with. Each member of the Parr family feels unique to play as, with each character's powers on full display. Seeing Dash sprint through the streets like he's late for school, or Jack rapidly shifting between his different forms is genuinely entertaining stuff. Jack fighting the raccoon is a particular highlight and a really clever way of working him into the game. One of his powers is cloning himself, so in co-op, the devs made both players play as Jack, and it's hilariously brilliant. I will say, it's a bit strange that you have to play through the second movie to unlock the first. Releasing alongside the sequel is probably partly to blame, but at least I still got to play as Syndrome, so I wasn't too disappointed. This is also one of the shorter LEGO experiences on this list, with only 12 main story missions, though there are side quests and the usual collectibles to keep you busy, especially if you're going for a completionist run. But what really makes LEGO The Incredibles stick with you is the laughs. The devs had so many opportunities to make a gag, and they seemingly didn't pass up on a single one. If you haven't played LEGO The Incredibles, do yourself a favor and check it out.
I can't believe this is happening! They've done anything with my life! I wanted to run up Everest!
Up next, I hope you like New Zealand, because we're heading to the Shire with LEGO Lord of the Rings. Now, not only is the Lord of the Rings one of the best written fantasy series of all time, no, Game of Thrones doesn't even come close. And before you throw shade in the comments, you know I'm right. It is also well known for having a high standard of production for most of its media. No, not you. And its shift into the brick building world of LEGO is no different. You get to traverse a bite-sized version of Middle-earth, moving between major locations from the films. The Shire, Bree, even Mordor. And the best part is, you won't have to worry about taking the hobbits to Isengard.
Now taking the hobbits to Isengard!
The roster, in typical LEGO fashion, is vast. Not only can you play as every member of the Fellowship, as well as other key characters like Galadriel and Elrond, but even as Sauron himself. You get to play as the Lord of the Rings. Come on, that's awesome. Or maybe Saruman or an Uruk-hai is more up your alley. Either way, LEGO games have always nailed this, letting you play as the villains just as much as the heroes. One criticism I do have is the approach to the dialogue. Whilst it is only the second LEGO entry to have voiced characters, the way it was done was good in theory, but the execution was less than ideal.
They have a cave troll. They have a cave troll.
The voices are taken straight from the films, so at least you won't feel like you're hearing some Aragorn from Temu trying to deliver Viggo Mortensen's lines. But because they're pulled directly from the films, they had to be digitally altered to strip out background sounds, meaning the voices feel overly compressed. On top of that, when you're out in the world, random film lines get used in contexts they were never intended for, which can feel a little jarring. It's not a big issue, but it did bug me a couple of times. But none of that stops the retelling of this epic trilogy from being genuinely fascinating. With all that LEGO charm layered on top as you play through the iconic trilogy, you've got yourself a genuinely cozy Lord of the Rings experience. Perfect for the little ones if you feel they're just that little bit too young to experience the real films. Just take it from me though, they're not. Little Jimmy is practically begging you to do a Lord of the Rings marathon right now. I just know it.
Fellowship awaits the ring bearer.
Hey, Hey, thanks for finding this channel. I'm building this from scratch as a one-man team with a single goal, dropping high-quality lists for you every single week. By subscribing now, you aren't just a number, you're an early supporter helping me hit that weekly schedule faster. So thanks for being here. Next up, it's time to get a little mischievous with LEGO DC supervillains. Straight off the LEGO bat, what sets this one apart is the focus. You're the bad guys. You're committing crimes, doing bad things, well, essentially just breaking bricks, but in the most criminally entertaining way possible. It's a departure from the standard go through a level while cleaning up a criminal's mess and then beat the bricks out of them at the end. Ew, why is this one sticky? Instead, due to the Justice League's disappearance, DC's colourful cast of supervillains have to step up and protect Earth from an even worse threat. But you know, in a criminal way. What also sets this entry apart is that it was actually the first LEGO licensed game to let you create a custom character, simply known as the Rookie, no, not that Rookie, as an integral part of the core story, rather than just as an experimental side thing in free play mode. And honestly, it was pretty cool seeing my weirdo supervillain in training show up in cutscenes that were supposed to be serious. Well, at least as serious as a game about bad bricks can be, with an abundance of slapstick comedy. As far as the narrative goes, DC Supervillains features an original story, though it does take heavy inspiration from the Forever Evil and Darkseid war comics, or Darkseid war comics? See, I did my homework. These gave the devs a new level of freedom to create something comedy heavy while still exploring the darker corners of the DC universe, and they did that really, really well. The voice acting in this game is absolutely stellar. You've got the legendary Kevin Conroy reprising his role as Batman alongside Mark Hamill returning as the Joker. I don't know about you, but hearing the classic Joker laugh still makes me a bit giddy. It's pure nostalgia for those weekend mornings watching Batman the Animated Series. Add in some industry legends like Matthew Mercer, Nolan North, and Tara Strong, and the whole experience is just an incredible audio treat. LEGO DC Supervillains also features over 160 playable characters in the base game, which is not too shabby at all. And if you missed your favourite growling caped crusader, don't worry, you'll still get to play as him and the rest of the Justice League. But honestly, half of the fun of this game isn't even in the main story missions. It's tearing through that massive open world hub that brilliantly mashes up Gotham City, Metropolis, and even Apocalypse, wherever that is. Whether you're joyriding through the streets in a stolen police cruiser, sprinting around causing absolute chaos as Reverse Flash, or just trying to figure out how to get that one incredibly frustrating gold brick, the sandbox is packed with puzzles and Easter eggs that will keep any DC fan busy for hours. Ultimately, LEGO DC Supervillains proves that sometimes it really is good to be bad. It takes the tried and true LEGO formula and injects it with enough chaotic energy and villainous charm to make it feel fresh and incredibly fun. It's basically the ultimate playground for comic book fans who want to let their dark side out for a stroll.
I just escaped from that feathered fool Owlman, but he sure didn't act like much of a hero.
Yeah, they crashed my lair. They broke all my henchmen.
They interrupted my evil monologue. It was a really good monologue.
Back before LEGO games became giant open worlds with cheeky dialogue, LEGO Indiana Jones The Original Adventures released, and it brought back the classic pantomime style that LEGO Star Wars made famous. It's a much simpler game than most on this list, featuring a small hub world that is Barnett College, where you could walk around and see all that you have unlocked through the main game. This game covers all three original films, Raiders of the Lost Ark, Temple of Doom, and The Last Crusade, and it does it with zero dialogue and wall-to-wall slapstick. Indy flashing that smug little smirk, characters pulling out fish or bananas instead of weapons was all you needed to know that the adventure was on. And here's what the game genuinely does well. It takes the darker, grittier sides of those films and makes them completely family friendly without losing what made them great. So you can plonk your younger siblings or your kids down next to you and watch them lose their minds over a treasure hunting adventure, while you quietly wait for them to get old enough to watch the actual films. And I'll let you decide when that is. And the character-specific interactions? Genuinely brilliant. Indy is terrified of snakes. Run into one and he just freezes. Can't attack, can't move, just standing there in a cold sweat until someone clears them out of the way. Same deal with Willie Scott and bugs, spiders, you name it. It forces you to actually switch characters and think about who you're using. And in doing that, it quietly teaches you more about these characters than you would expect from a LEGO game. LEGO Indiana Jones The Original Adventures sits comfortably at number 7. 2007, a classic that nailed movie adaptation and LEGO charm early on, but lacks the depth, scale, and modern features that define some of the higher entries on this list. Up next, we have LEGO Marvel Superheroes 2. What really sets it apart is the sheer variation across almost every playable character. Some outfits are purely cosmetic, but others genuinely change how they play. Iron Man alone has at least 6 different suits, each with their own attacks and abilities. Old West is definitely my favourite, and then there are the unhinged options. Thor as a frog, Throg, and an actual red dinosaur called Devil Dinosaur. There are so many ridiculous options, and I mean that in the best possible way. Oh, and the character creator, arguably the best in any LEGO game. It doesn't just let you swap heads and capes. You can fully customize power sets, choose weapon designs, tweak beam colors, and map abilities to specific buttons. It's an absolute sandbox for creating your own bootleg superhero. The map technically forms one giant city called Chronopolis, but it's broken up into completely different regions. A mishmash of environments from across time itself. One minute you're swinging through medieval castle walls, the next you're in the noir version of Manhattan. 18 locations stitched together by Kang the Conqueror, and it never once feels repetitive. But the real highlight? Ditching the focus on the standard MCU roster and diving headfirst into the wider multiverse. The result is some of the strangest characters, locations, and story beats you'll ever see in a LEGO game. The dialogue fully commits to the so bad it's good approach, and it left me in stitches time and time again.
Ravonna, my little siege tower. I thought we'd arrange the window cleaners to come on a Thursday. What have I told you? Get out of the... Otherwise, you'll find yourselves looking for a new round!
There is nothing funnier than teaming up with Spider-Man Noir as he delivers overly gritty, stereotypical 1930s detective monologues.
I don't know who it is, but the cheaper the crook, the gaudier the patter, huh?
Well said, Spider Bogey.
Huh?
The way his ultra-serious, hard-boiled dialogue violently clashes with the colourful, goofy LEGO universe around him is pure comedic gold. By leaning into the multiverse, the narrative also avoids repeating the same tired Avengers storylines. It forces bizarre character pairings that you rarely see on screen, allowing for incredibly fun, dysfunctional banter. But here's why it didn't go higher. The voice cast is a much more mixed bag than previous entries, and that's down to the voice actor strike in 2017. The devs had no choice but to bring in replacements, which led to some characters sounding like awkward generic knockoffs of themselves. The inconsistencies really showed at times, leaving key moments feeling a bit flat. That said, Peter Serafinowicz as Kang is an absolutely phenomenal casting choice, so at least there's that. There's also the glaring absence of Deadpool, the X-Men, and the Fantastic Four, and losing those iconic characters leaves a noticeable hole, no matter how big the rest of the roster is. Even with those omissions and the occasional wonky voice line, LEGO Marvel Superheroes 2 is a fantastically fun superhero romp. It might leave a couple things to be desired, but the sheer ridiculousness of its multiverse sandbox makes it an absolute blast to play.
We will endeavor to assist you in the vanquishment of Kang. But first, we must tend to our kingdom. Farewell for now, Guardians.
I am Groot.
What do you mean he don't say much? Your vocabulary ain't hardly prolific.
For this next entry, I'm swapping the Web Blasters for Batarang's cape and cowl. Welcome to LEGO Batman 2 DC Superheroes. This one marked a massive pivot for the franchise, ditching those small hub worlds that just let you pick levels and show off your unlockables in favor of a fully explorable open world. The missions themselves are fairly limited compared to the later entries, mostly saving civilians or hunting yellow bricks, but there's no denying the pure joy of just driving the Batmobile around Gotham City whenever you feel like it. Sure, the driving was a little wonky, but I still had heaps of fun tearing down those streets while hunting down well-hidden collectibles. The other big change, ditching the pantomime style completely and going fully voiced. And honestly, it was the right call. The silent grunts and slapstick worked brilliantly for retelling established stories, like LEGO Star Wars, Harry Potter, Indiana Jones, all proof that making a silent goof with LEGO pieces can absolutely work. But when it came to writing something brand new, LEGO Batman the video game, fun as it was, showed exactly how limiting the pantomime style could be. So it was great to see actual dialogue in the sequel. And with such a strong voice cast, it came off perfectly. The silly gags didn't go anywhere either. They're still very much a part of the experience, just slightly different to before. Bringing in the wider DC universe was also a massive deal. Superman, The Flash, Green Lantern, Wonder Woman actually showing up as playable characters was huge, and each one genuinely felt unique. The devs clearly thought hard about how each character actually played, so you felt like the character you picked, not just a generic flying type or strength type. That's something a lot of modern LEGO games have struggled with. Inflated rosters have led to some lazy archetypes, so it's awesome to go back to a title that showed exactly what playing as a diverse cast of characters should feel like. LEGO Batman 2 may look similar to the other LEGO games of its time, at least on the surface, but its innovations quietly changed the entire franchise. It's one of the most important entries in the series, and without a doubt, one of LEGO's best.
Wow! That is great! Isn't that great, Batman?
Destroyed all the evidence of the crime scene.
Strap into your X-Wings because our next pick is taking us to a galaxy far, far away. LEGO Star Wars The Skywalker Saga is easily one of the most ambitious titles on this list. It covers all 9 mainline films, so you get the 6 absolute classics, plus, well, the other 3. But joke all you want about the sequels, because this game delivers an absolutely enormous galactic sandbox. 24 explorable planets, over 380 characters, and a completely revamped combat system. The focus was scale. The Skywalker Saga is the largest LEGO game on this list, full stop. One minute you're hunting down bounty hunters in Coruscant, the next you're flying across Tatooine to pick up pod racing parts. There's so much to do here before you even touch the actual story missions. That is, 45 main missions, 5 per film, and each one is noticeably different from the last. I loved revisiting the original trilogy and the prequels through a fresh lens in particular. The retellings feel completely new, the humor is there and expanded on significantly, with every opportunity for a gag fully capitalized on.
R2!
What?
But that's my shit!
The characters even banter with each other while you're just wandering around the open world.
I am the Senate.
Hiya, Senate. Misa Jar Jar Bing.
It carries across the entire franchise perfectly. As expected, this game doesn't just rehash the LEGO Star Wars games of the past, but rather takes each episode in a different direction whilst maintaining lore accuracy. Many of the missions have been revamped in intriguing ways, and whilst they may not always be what you expect, they are still excellently designed with plenty of humor. Take the Anakin and Obi-Wan fight. Rather than playing as the dueling Jedi themselves, you take control of Obi-Wan, C-3PO, and R2-D2 as you battle Anakin across Mustafar. Admittedly, that might be a little less exciting for player 2, but still crazy fun, especially with the new combat system, throwing in lightsaber combos and precision blaster shots instead of just spamming square. Does it top running through collapsing environments from the original? Maybe not, but watching Anakin dance on top of his ship is hilarious, and the battle that follows is brilliant. And if somehow that still isn't enough, you can jump into frantic space battles and run smuggling routes between planets. It genuinely feels like there are endless encounters waiting for you across the galaxy. That said, a game this size was always going to run into some repetitive elements. Some side quests just boil down to the basic fetch quest stretched across planets, which gets a bit tedious over time. And then there's the roster. Expansive as it is, a lot of the characters start to feel a little copy and paste. 10 classes sounds great, but Jedi and Dark Side, heroes and villains, they're really only slight variations of each other. Still, there's nothing like cutting through Lego bricks as your favorite Jedi or Sith Lord.
I love you.
Landing at number 3 is LEGO Batman Legacy of the Dark Knight.
I'm Batman.
The hype around this one was enormous, and honestly, mostly they delivered. TT Games set massive expectations for themselves, weaving together a story that draws from and pays homage to almost every major Batman film and game ever made. From Tim Burton's 90s films right through to Matt Reeves' The Batman, this game is absolutely filled to the brim with referential humor. And the biggest change is the core gameplay loop. Forget the typical mash square nature of the originals or the basic combo formula of more recent entries. LEGO Batman has gone full Arkham Asylum with its approach. It's basically a Batman Arkham game with LEGO bricks, and that's exactly what makes it so great. You're gliding around a sprawling Gotham City as the Caped Crusader, taking on dynamic crime events, collecting Riddler trophies, and tracking down Gotham's fiercest villains. Now, Legacy of the Dark Knight has just 7 playable heroes, possibly the smallest roster in LEGO licensed game history. But here's the thing, it doesn't matter. By focusing entirely on the core Bat family and friends, every single character gets genuinely unique suits, gadgets, and combat mechanics, built specifically for them. This is an example of quality over quantity, and it works. Story-wise, the game takes a combination approach, key moments drawn directly from the films and the comics. The narrative skeleton is built on some genuinely dark arcs. Year 1, Nightfall, but the writers constantly filter those heavy stakes through TT Games' comedic lens. The villains are consistently used to puncture any self-seriousness before it gets too heavy.
This ain't no secret nightclub, it's a fish store. Fish market. Oh yeah, a fish market.
The script is packed with hilariously awkward boss banter, over-the-top theatrics, and deliberately cheesy one-liners that feel like a loving critique of comic book writing itself. It keeps the game from feeling like a grimdark slog. The tone stays lighthearted, even when the stakes are apocalyptic. Outside of all that, there's plenty to get your teeth into in this open world. Over 30 hours of content for 100% completion, puzzles everywhere, AR challenges, and you can even customize your Batmobile. What could be better than that? LEGO Batman Legacy of the Dark Knight is a genuine contender for the best LEGO game ever made. If you haven't played it yet, fix that immediately.
You wouldn't hit a guy with glasses on, would ya?
We're back in the Marvel Universe, and this time, we're going all the way back to where it started. LEGO Marvel Superheroes. LEGO Marvel Superheroes was Marvel's first dip into the LEGO genre, and honestly, it's still their best. From the very first mission, you know you're in for something special. Abomination and Sandman in the opening alone? The story's completely original too. Nick Fury calls on the entire Marvel Universe to stop Galactus from devouring the Earth, while also keeping Doctor Doom from getting his hands on the cosmic bricks to build his own death ray. Classic. And the whole thing never once takes itself too seriously. LEGO charm front and center throughout. This game found the perfect balance between sharp dialogue humor and the physical comedy we all love. Hulk ripping his pants, Magneto pulling off Iron Man's armor and leaving Tony Stark standing there in his boxers, or as we say in Australia, Starkers. These moments are funny on their own, but they land even harder because of how the characters physically react to them. The character roster is one of the best in any Marvel LEGO title, and the X-Men being here is a massive highlight. You've got a huge cast, from the expected and the exciting to the delightfully obscure. Howard the Duck and Squirrel Girl very much fall into the second category. And while there are class types, clawed heroes for digging, electric heroes for powering terminals, each character within those classes still feels genuinely different. You're never just playing as a reskin of the same LEGO minifigure. The open world, while it might be a little simplistic by today's standards, was one of my absolute favorites. At the time, there seemed to be a yellow brick hidden around every corner or random characters to run into that you could play as long as you had enough studs. And who can forget skydiving from the helicarrier down to the streets of Manhattan? That was just awesome. And collecting rings of studs on the way down definitely helped the character purchase fund, because these minifigs do not come cheap. 250,000 studs for Sabretooth? Sheesh. Strangely, for a list of licensed games, what really made this one stand out is that it wasn't tied to a specific film. It had full creative license to weave its own story, using various Marvel comics as a jumping off point. It felt like a genuine celebration of the Marvel Universe, not just a marketing tactic, which unfortunately was LEGO Avengers' biggest shortcoming. While most of the time, LEGO games are at their best when riffing on films, this is one case where original storytelling in a well-loved universe was just the better approach.
Do you have much experience with theoretical quantum mechanics and exotic nano-derived power sources?
I got an A+ in American history.
Before we get into number 1, here are a few quick honourable mentions. LEGO Pirates of the Caribbean takes 4 epic movies and packs them into one hilarious swashbuckling adventure, all with that classic LEGO charm. From sword fights to ship battles, it nails the pirate vibe perfectly. The levels are packed with clever puzzles and cinematic moments. Plus, seeing iconic scenes recreated in LEGO form without any dialogue somehow makes them even funnier. It might not reinvent the LEGO formula, but what it does incredibly well. It's a must-play for fans of Jack Sparrow and classic LEGO humor. LEGO The Hobbit often gets overlooked, but honestly, it's one of the most polished LEGO experiences out there. It brings Middle-earth to life with massive open-world areas, a detailed crafting system, and some genuinely beautiful environments. The character abilities feel more refined here too, making puzzles more satisfying than in most other entries. The only downside, it never got to finish the story. But even with that, what's here is still a fantastic cozy adventure through Tolkien's world. The LEGO Harry Potter collection is basically the ultimate Hogwarts experience, combining years 1 to 7 into one magical package. You get to attend classes, cast spells, explore Hogwarts, and relive the entire saga in LEGO form. The atmosphere is spot on. The sense of discovery makes it one of the most immersive LEGO hubs ever created. It's not the most modern entry gameplay-wise, but the charm, magic, and sheer amount of content make it one of the most beloved LEGO adaptations ever made. And taking the #1 spot is LEGO Star Wars. No, not The Force Awakens. Get that out of here.
Get out of here, man. I'm saying.
I'm talking about LEGO Star Wars The Complete Saga. Because, come on, of course it is. It took the 2 games that literally built the LEGO formula and mashed them together into one massive, almost flawless package. And not a single word was spoken throughout the whole thing. The sheer amount of innovation packed into this little mid-2000s action adventure was enough on its own to earn at the top spot. Take the drop-in, drop-out co-op, meaning you don't have to stop playing just because your little brother has to pee. There's also a proper themed hub world, originally Dexter's Diner and later the Mos Eisley Cantina, where you can purchase characters, browse your collectibles, and start fights with random minifigs you've unlocked. Yes, really. Even at the time, I knew I was playing something special, something well beyond a typical movie tie-in. It was a hilarious sandbox that let me experience what it was like to battle Darth Maul, well, as Darth Maul, or rescue Princess Leia as Darth Vader. It flipped the script completely, letting you play through the whole saga your way, with a whole host of goofs and gags along the way. The slapstick here was perfect, a genuinely brilliant way to retell Anakin's fall and eventual redemption. The opening gag alone, pilots hanging in the air after the Republic cruiser is destroyed, only to fall to pieces once they hit the ground, that one stuck with me. And the first time you see Darth Maul, watching members of the Republic slide into the back of each other and pop their heads out one by one still gets me every time. This game has some of the best levels in any LEGO title, full stop. I'm looking at you, Darth Vader. The battle between Anakin and Obi-Wan was brutal. Or Count Dooku, your first encounter with the cunning swordsman has you constantly character swapping just to stay out of the way of his Force lightning. Or flip over to the original trilogy for the Battle of Endor on speeder bikes, or Cloud City Trap with Luke going toe-to-toe with Darth Vader. And look, we can't forget the pod racing. That may have been the bane of my existence when I was younger, but I absolutely adored the high-speed chaos of trying to collect every mini-kit and hit true Jedi all at once. Sure, the game might look a little bare bones compared to its newer counterparts, and most of the replay value comes from running levels again in free play mode, but even to this day, LEGO Star Wars The Complete Saga is an absolute joy. The kind of game you can pick up at any time and get sucked into for hours on end, even if it looks a little aged. If you like this video, click the one on screen now for more content just like this.